Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Surya Prakash Upadhyay from Indian Institute of Technology, Mandi. Today we are going to talk on module Origins of Urban Planning in India from paper Sociology of Urban Transformations. This module presents the origins of urban planning in India, specifically focusing on the planning philosophy and ideas introduced by the British colonial administrators in planning and designing cantonment towns, administrative capitals, civil areas, railway colonies, settlements around tea and coffee plantations, industrial townships, and hill stations. The rest of the module is divided into several sections. The next section discusses city development in ancient and medieval India. Later on, we discuss urban planning under the British rule in India, and further, we discuss the themes that shaped urban planning in British India. These include the ideas of public health and sanitation, spatial and social segregation, colonial dominance, administrative and institutional edifice, and knowledge edifice. And finally, we conclude and take all the points together and discuss what we have learned from this module. If you look at the origin of urban planning in India, it can be traced to the planned towns of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, belonging to the Indus Valley civilization, and they date as early as 2500 BC. The cities and towns were built around forts and centers of trade and commerce at various periods in the history of India. More broadly, over the longer historical span, scholars argue that India witnessed very little in situ urbanization. Historically, urban centers have grown up due to concerted investment in certain areas by state governments or through administrative mechanisms such as transplanting district and sub-district, that is Tehsil, headquarters, and municipal apparatus. The pre-colonial rulers built up prominent towns and cities mainly for political and strategic reasons. One can find many such cities that were built during the medieval times. Some prominent cities like Fatehpur Sikri and Sikandra in Uttar Pradesh, Murshidabad in West Bengal, Sindhudurg in Maharashtra, Chittorgarh, Jaipur, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Mewar and Udaipur in Rajasthan, Ahmedabad in Gujarat, Hyderabad in Andhra Pradesh and Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh are some of the prominent towns and cities developed during medieval times under various rulers and dynasties. As we have discussed in Module 1 on urbanization and urbanism, let us see how the cities have developed in ancient and medieval India. Scholars such as Ramachandran divide urbanization and city development in pre-colonial India into three time periods: prehistoric, early historic period, medieval period. Cities of the Indus Valley civilization such as Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and Lothal followed a system of town planning with similarities in their layouts as a rectilinear basis of main east-west routes directed towards the citadels and northwest cross routes. These cities were also the earliest instances of grid-on town planning. The city proper consisted of two components: one, a citadel built on high ground, and a lower city where the majority of the population lived. The citadel consisted of a large number of structures with large halls and palaces and was fortified with walls. The lower city was built on a gridiron pattern with a hierarchy of streets, large, small and smallest, an elaborate drainage system, storm water drainage system, water supply in brick-lined wells, houses of different sizes and sites like the granary and public bath were some of the prominent features of the cities under the Indus Valley civilization. The earliest developments in the second phase of urbanization around 600 BC took place in and around the Indus Valley civilization and adjoining parts of Rajasthan, Punjab, and parts of western Uttar Pradesh, and also in Deccan and parts of southern parts of India. The use of iron helped clear forests and facilitated human settlements, triggering the emergence of these cities. During the Mauryan period, a complex town planning pattern developed, and the Janapadas and later Mahajanpadas came into being. Texts like Kautilya's Arthashastra and the travelogues of Fahian and Megasthenes also suggest that cities also increased in size and number. Takshila, Mathura, Kaushambi, Patliputra, and Shravasti were important cities of the Mauryan period. The decline of these cities in the post-Mauryan period could be attributed to factors like recurrence of natural calamities, the decline of well-administered empires, and foreign invasions. The major cities south during the period were Puhar, Madurai, Kanchi, Karur, and Korkai. Around the 5th century AD, during the rules of Gupta kings, there was a revival. Again, there were revivals at the time of Delhi Sultanate and the Mughals. Delhi became the capital city of the slave dynasty and later the Khaljis, Tughlaqs, and Lodhis. Two leading cities from around this time were Delhi and Agra. Others like Mathura, Allahabad, Varanasi, Thaneshwar, Gwalior, Ujjain, Somnath, Meerut, Panipat, Baroda, and Srinagar also developed. During the Mughal period, the growth of capital cities, building on forts, large residences and buildings, palaces and mosques became essential features of cities like Agra, Delhi, Sikandra, Shahjahanabad in the north, and Hyderabad and Ahmedabad for the south. Chandni Chowk housed the market. On the one side of the avenue was the Jama Masjid, and on the other side, the residence of the nobles. Commoners usually lived outside the fort area in mohallas with narrow streets. Let us see how urban planning developed under the British rule in India. During the colonial era, up to the 20th century, cities were consciously laid out for military and political dominance. The concerns of public health and sanitation, spatial and social segregation, colonial dominance and control were the underlying ideas of colonial planning in India. The establishment of town planning institutions and a knowledge edifice, complete with the establishments of civil works department and engineering colleges and the use of statistics, census, and surveys, institutionalized the planning process in colonial India. The underlying philosophy that cities are important centers of economic productivity informed the colonial urban planning process. The rise of urban planning in Europe and America was driven by the search for a rational city, that is, the idea of a city as a perfectly disciplined spatial order. The question underlying the need for planning was essentially how the rules for efficient capital expansion and circulation could be internalized in the fabric and the form of the city. Early urban planning was essentially concerned with the factors responsible for urban disorder and disease. The history of urban planning in colonial India was also informed by the concerns of health and sanitation. Macfarlane examines the logic of sanitation in colonial Bombay's sanitary history. 19th century Bombay was visualized as a contaminated city. According to the ideas of disease propagation popular in Britain at the time, such bad air or exposure to offensive odors through sources such as pools of sewage, animal carcasses, decaying vegetation, and poor ventilation would result in sickness and diseases like cholera, plague, and others. Low-income migrants lived in localities such as Khara Talao and Kumharwada in central Bombay, which lacked sewer connections. Concerns over sanitation thus encompassed not just fear over illness, polluting bodies, or social unrest, but the protection of Bombay as a capitalist city. In a study by Kidambi, he notes that at the end of the 19th century, the city and island of Bombay was faced with dreaded bubonic plague that caused death, fear, and resentment. The origins of the disease were traced to the localized condition of filth, lack of ventilation, and general sanitary disorder, and the high incidence of mortality in the native quarters, especially in the slums. Thus, the existing discourse of difference between British ruling class and native Indians was rigidly maintained, as it seemed coherent and provided a ready-made and commonsensical explanation for why the poorer quarters of the city suffered more of the ravages of the plague. Tracing plague to native areas fitted well into the already entrenched framework of difference of the dual city. In other words, spatial and social segregation, discussed in detail in the next section, underlined the urban planning philosophy in British India. The Bombay City Improvement Trust was created in 1898 for the purpose of eliminating overcrowded, insanitary living conditions in the city. The main agenda of the Bombay City Improvement Trust was to provide housing for the poorer and working classes of the city. A 10-year agenda was announced to provide sanitary accommodation for 50,000 individuals. Segregation was the basis of urban planning in colonial India. The native town where the indigenous population resided was clearly demarcated from the areas inhabited by European population. The British modified the urban landscape of earlier times substantially with the introduction of what were known as civil lines and cantonments, both of which existed as adjuncts to the native city to accommodate the British civilian and military personnel. The civil lines housed the administrative offices, courts, and residences of British officers, clearly demarcated from the native town where Indians lived. The latter were invariably overcrowded and lacked civic amenities. Cantonments were often built around large cities, originally for housing British officers and armed personnel. Indian soldiers resided in separate quarters within the cantonment. Spatial segregation in the cantonments was strictly maintained by hierarchy and rank, both within the British and Indian barracks. Civil lines and cantonments, unlike the rest of the native town, were distinguished by large open spaces, planned roads, administrative buildings located at the center. The health and security of British elites were prime concerns. The residential spaces of the British were designed accordingly. The residential spaces of European expatriates were typically large housing plots with lavish recreation facilities and low densities, complete with the availability of motorized transport, telephone connections, and cheap native labor. Colonial planning was inspired by British planning ideas that dominated in early 20th century, namely the Garden City movement. Garden City ideas were in turn a reaction to the 19th century industrial city and its pathologies. The pathologies included congestion, pollution, crowded spaces, crime and illness. The techniques and goals of planning underlying the Garden City principles were therefore orderly development, easing traffic flows, promoting healthy environments, reduced densities, planned residential areas, zoning of industrial and residential units, and segregation of populations. All early colonial towns like Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras developed on these lines. Scholars have argued that colonial duality in the urban context is expressed in the black town oblique fort dichotomous model, wherein the city appears to be divided into two separate quarters. For instance, in colonial Bombay, the segregationist lines are believed to lie where the erstwhile fort existed. The areas of its south characterized as a European town, whereas the congestion of the northern areas named the native town. Mariam Dossel in Bissell 2011 describes three distinct quarters as representing especially a highly unequal division of labor of dominant dependent relationship that existed between colonizer and colonized, between the British and the Indians. Since the health and well-being of British officials were of great concern, the British also developed hill stations in an attempt to replicate the British countryside, complete with schools, hospitals, clubs, and hotels. Access to these places were restricted to the British elites. The segregation was as much social as it was spatial. The hill stations catered exclusively to the needs of Europeans and helped them recuperate from the heat of the plains during summers. The first hill stations were established in 1815, and by 1870 there were over 80 hill stations in and around the four metropolitan cities of Calcutta, Madras, Delhi and Bombay. These were Shimla, Mussoorie, Nainital near Delhi, Darjeeling, Shillong near Calcutta, Mahabaleshwar near Bombay, and Nilgiri, Kodaikanal area in Tamil Nadu. The national capital was shifted from Delhi to Shimla for 6 months of the year to avoid the soaring temperatures of the plains in the summers. We have elsewhere discussed about the growth of colonial cities, and the colonial cities were of different kinds. Like in India, Calcutta and Delhi served as colonial capitals, while Bombay and Madras, they emerged as colonial port cities. So similar thing we can also locate elsewhere on the map, like Lagos and Colombo, that were developed as hybrid cities, and they conceived in part through comparison with the metropole. They embodied European discourse of planning and improvement was subsumed within the existing power structure. Scholars have argued that the creation of dual cities on the basis of racial segregation of natives from the Europeans is most often regarded as a prime example of the use of urban planning as a medium of asserting colonial domination. You might have seen in several cities that there were certain areas that were completely restricted for the natives. So scholars also explain that the industrial revolution that originated in England in the latter half of the 18th century took a full 100 years to reach India. Urban planning ideas and forms reproduced the assumptions of colonial core generated through the process of capitalist industrialization. Planning based on knowledge systems imported from the metropole were evident in the development of colonial towns like Bombay in 1860s and Lucknow in later on. For instance, Bombay, Calcutta and Madras were entry ports oriented to the metropolitan economy and became important commercial centers. Bombay, which was obtained by Britain from the Portuguese in 1665, was handed to the East India Company in 1666. Parpiani explains that it was only in the late 18th century that its value as a port was recognized, and leading to extensive reclamations and provision of infrastructure. Most industries were also located in and around the metropolitan cities of Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. The early industries were cotton textile industry in Bombay and Ahmedabad, jute industry in Calcutta, coal mining in the Damodar Basin, leather and woolen textile industries in Kanpur, and the iron and steel industry in Jamshedpur. On the other hand, New Delhi, as we have discussed in other module, it developed as a capital city to concentrate political and administrative purposes with little attempt at industrial development. In 1911, the capital of British Empire was shifted from Calcutta to New Delhi. New Delhi was designed by the architect Edwin Lutyens, and it was completed in 1935. It was an imposing city, symbolic of British colonial dominance. The design was complete with modern buildings, a magnificent administrative complex, bungalows with large compounds, wide streets lined with trees, reminiscent of British landscape. New Delhi was a sharp contrast to its older counterpart, the dilapidated and overcrowded Shahjahanabad that was built by the Mughals. Colonial dominance was also asserted with the construction of military cantonments that provided sanctions for the use of force over the colonized that lived in civilian areas. During the British colonial rule, urban areas were defined as including every municipality, every cantonment, all civil lines, residential areas of officials not included in municipal limits, and every collection of houses permanently inhabited by not less than 5,000 persons, and of an urban character, though not under municipal government. This definition, which continued until 1951, left scope for state census superintendents to apply their judgments in declaring settlements as urban. Colonial urbanization unfolded through 1. The development of three metropolitan port cities, Madras, Calcutta, and Bombay. 2. Hill stations in and around these metropolitan cities and in the foothills of the Himalayas and South India. 3. Settlements around tea and coffee plantations like Guwahati in Assam and Darjeeling in West Bengal. 4. Introduction of civil lines and cantonment areas. 5. Industrial towns like Jamshedpur and Asansol. 7. Settlements or railway colonies in and around major railway stations like Bareilly and Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. An institutional edifice comprising legislations and municipal controls, police, judiciary, army, informal parajudicial policing was developed to give shape to urban planning. State regulation through bylaw planning, building regulation, sanitary inspections, centralized control by British administration was put in place. Piped water supply, street lighting, sewerage, modern shopping areas like the Hague Market in Calcutta and the Crawford Market in Bombay, parks and playgrounds were established in the major metropolitan cities and in the civil and cantonment areas, industrial towns and hill stations. Municipalities were concerned with collection of local taxes, maintenance of roads, removal of garbage, and primary health and education. Conscious efforts of conservation or preservation of places of historical significance were part and parcel of city building. British officials in India contributed a great deal in building museums, libraries, and town halls. The administrative centers of cities like the Dalhousie Square in Calcutta and the Fort St. George in Madras were European in their design and layout. The metropolitan cities of Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay were also leading administrative and commercial centers. European-style buildings, housing, major banks, and headquarters of commercial and industrial houses, numerous streets and bylanes, chief commercial areas, markets, tram, cars, and buses accorded a new character to cities in contrast to their traditional form. The colonial cities were also the centers of Western culture spread through spaces of leisure, education, and learning like clubs, schools, colleges, universities, restaurants, and libraries. These spaces created a new urban elite comprising Europeans and wealthy Indians. An attendant knowledge edifice was also created to support and implement urban planning principles. A new class of military engineers were educated at Royal Military Academy, Woolwich and Chatham, and in India at Thomson Engineering College, later University of Roorkee, and now the Indian Institute of Technology at Roorkee, among others. Public Works Department, surveyors and civil engineers began to be attached to municipalities. Early urban planners and officials in colonial India, including Patrick Gates, Lutyens, Herbert Baker, Lanchester, used data collection techniques like the census. The use of statistics and systems of inspection were established. Modern sewage systems replaced older arrangements. Experts were brought in from England to take up official positions for town planners and provide the much needed channel through which urban planning was going to be effectively directed. It was believed that the systematic application of the techniques of the town planning would result in development. Parpiani alludes to the text of a 1914 public address by H. B. Lanchester. the official town planner of Madras Presidency, that provides a classic example of the absolute faith in this philosophy. Lanchester said, "The science of city planning has, as we may claim, now reached a stage that should disarm any distrust as to the possibility of forecasting on general lines the best form of development in any particular case. It may be accepted that if the right type of body is charged with determination of the structural lines of a developing city, the results arrived at will be immeasurably superior from both the economic and social points of view to the usual haphazard results of a laissez-faire policy." In Bombay, for instance, an expert surveyor, M.J. Mead, was called from London in 1909 and entrusted with the responsibility of drawing up a report on the possibilities of the development of Salsette and as a residential area. Salsette, which adjoins Bombay, now houses Thane and other large urban settlements, make it one of the most densely populated islands in the world. Following the report of a committee on scientific urban planning of the area, A.E. Miriams was made the consulting surveyor to the Government of India, and he recommended the passing of a Town Planning Act to take up the development of the area. So, students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. So, this module discusses the origins of urban planning in India, tracing the urban history of India from the prehistoric times through the early historical period and medieval period up to 1800 AD. The origins of the first kind of urban planning in India can be traced to the planned towns of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa that we have discussed also. In the second phase of urbanization, around 600 BC, towns like Varanasi and Patliputra in north and Kanchipuram and Madurai gained prominence. Other Mauryan era cities declined in the post-Mauryan period and was revived only during the rule of the Delhi Sultanate and the later Mughals. The Mughal period witnessed the growth of capital cities, building of forts, large residences and buildings, palaces and mosques, and growth of cities like Agra, Delhi, Sikandra, Shahjahanabad in the north, and Hyderabad and Ahmedabad in the south. The main focus of this module was to trace the trajectory of modern planning in India with a special reference to planning ideas during British rule. The institutionalization of planning through the establishment of town planning institutions and a knowledge edifice complete with establishment of civil works department and engineering colleges and the use of the statistics, census and survey were indeed the legacy of the British. However, one cannot ignore the fact that the rationale behind colonial planning essentially came from the fears of disease, social disorder and crime that the colonial cities posed. The concerns of public health, sanitation, segregation and discipline and the underlying understanding of cities as important centers of economic productivity informed colonial urban planning in India. Thank you.